14.2, we're going to be dealing with just different transactions, mostly for uncollectibles. So the first one, we wrote off the Melon Corporation, meaning they did not pay, and we're just writing it off. So we put in November 4th, and then we put in the allowance for uncollectibles accounts. We found this out through Memorandum 145 and 495. Oh, 494 is what we're not going to collect. And then we put on their accounts receivable / the actual company's name for the same amount. The second one is on the 15th. We wrote off Home Corporation past due account as an uncollectible. So we'll put in the date, which is the 15th. We're going to put in allowance for uncollectible M147, and we debit 1548. And we credit accounts receivable / and then the company's name. I don't know why that's coming up red. But it's for the same amount. Okay, I'll figure that out. We'll just move on to December 8th. This one happened. We received cash in full payment. Now somebody came back and paid this their payment off. So the first thing we have to do is we're going to do an accounts receivable for the company. And they paid it completely off. So 494, and we can find that number if we go back and look at the very first transaction, because it said that they paid it in full, or it has it right here in the uncollectibles account there. Okay, we're going to credit the allowance for uncollectible accounts. The reason we're doing that is because we had already written them off, so now we need to put money back into the uncollectible account. So that's why it's credited. Okay, 14th, we had wrote off the Fisher Industry past due for uncollectibles. So we've already done these kind. It's the allowance for uncollectible accounts. M161, 1360. And we're going to credit accounts receivable to the company. $1360. All right, and then the last one is we received cash payment in full. So they paid completely. So we're going to take and 16, the accounts receivable, to the home Oh, that's where I'm getting it wrong. Need to zoom in my computer. 169, 1548. And we're going to credit the allowance for uncollectible because we are putting back in that money into that account to make sure we I'll make sure to put 4 uncollectible. All right, so we general journaled all these transactions. Next, we're going to have to come down to our cash payment journal because we received cash on 2 different occasions. So the first one was December 8th. We received it from the Mellon Corporation. Our doc number was a receipt 341. And then we put it under our accounts receivable credit. And our cash debit is the same amount. And then the next time we received cash was on the 16th from the Horn Company. We found this out with receipt 349. We're going to put it under our accounts receivable column. And we debit our cash for the same amount. Now the next step is we're just going to post, meaning we're going to take and do our general journal we already did. Now we're just going to post it to their ledger. Now this one is almost double time because we are going to record it not only in our accounts receivable but in the actual accounts receivable ledger for the company. So row by row, we do the allowance for uncollectible. So we come down here and do allowance for uncollectible account. We first put in the date, which is November 4th. We found this out through G15. If you remember, we look up top here, it's General Journal, G, and then the page number. Okay, and we debited $494. Now I have a previous balance, so we take our previous, and if it's a credit and a debit, we subtract. Remember, if it's a credit and a credit, we would add, but these are different, so we're going to subtract those two. And remember to post-reference the 1135, post-reference that back up into your general journal. Okay, this next row, you're going to have to do two different ledgers. You're first going to do the accounts receivable ledger. So you're going to put in the date, which is November 4th. We found this out through G15. We are going to debit. We're going to credit, sorry, not debit. We're going to credit $494. Now we have a debit and a debit, so we would add those two together. 54.85. And post reference that back up here. But before we do that, we need to actually go to the company as well. So we need to go to the Mellon Company, and we're doing their own separate ledger. So we do the date again, the 4th. We found it out through G15. We credited $494, and now it's zeroed out. Now, when we post up here in our post reference, we're going to put both our numbers. So we're going to first put the allowance for the accounts receivable, which is 1130, and then we're going to do a dash 130. So on all these that have two names on them, you're going to have two different ledger numbers. Okay, so we're going to go back down to the allowance for uncollectibles. This happened on the 11th. G15. 1548 was debited. And I have a debit and a credit, so I'm going to subtract. Oh, and I messed up on that one. It should have been 2664.47. So make sure to fix that. And then our new balance is 1116.47. Post reference 1135 back up. Okay, accounts receivable. We're going to put in the 15th, G15. We are crediting 1548. We have a debit and a credit, so we'd subtract that to give us a new balance. Now we're not only going to go to accounts receivable, we're going to also be doing the Horn Corporation. So that's the 15th. G15. And we're going to credit 1548. So now we don't have a balance. Post reference, remember to put both of the account titles. So we're going to put the 1130 dash 120. Now I'm going to let you complete the rest because you're doing the same steps. If you have any other questions, please contact your teacher.